Hello everybody, welcome again on today's lecture. Today we will have a lecture on Partograph. As we know, Partograph is a simple chart that can save the life of mother and child. It is an important tool that helps in monitoring the progress of labor also. Now let's discuss in detail when and how to use the Partograph and how to respond the information that we enter in the chart. It is very crucial when we understand to plot the correct information in correct place. Partograph is a graphical record of a key information during labor entered against the time on a single sheet of paper. And we will be plotting the information on Partograph, which it will begin after the active phase of labor, that is after 4 centimeter dilatation of the cervix. Now let's see, there are different advantages of using Partograph. A single sheet of paper can provide a detailed information at once. So this is one of the advantages of using Partograph. We don't need to record the event of labor in different sheets of paper, which means that it might kill a lot of time, so that it will prevent. So that is one of the advantages of Partograph. It can predict any deviation from normal progress of labor earlier. That's the reason we can take an appropriate action as early as possible. It facilitates handover procedure. As we know, there are multiple health workers working in different shifts for a delivery. So with the help of this information plotted in the Partograph, will give a clear idea for everybody who will be working in different shift for that particular person, for that particular pregnant lady. Introduction of Partograph in the management of labor has reduced the incident of prolonged labor, as well as it has also reduced the incident of cesarean section rate. It has also decreased the incident of maternal mortality, morbidity, as well as perinatal mortality and morbidity. Partograph includes all the important information that are needed to care for the woman and safely deliver the baby. Now let's see what are the components that are included in plotting the information in Partograph. The first information that is been plotted in Partograph is patient information. Second, the assessment, the information of fetus, where we will be recording the fetal heart sound, the status of the membrane, the color of amniotic fluid if the membrane has been ruptured. Similarly, the information about molding of the fetal head. The third component of the Partograph is assessment of the progress of the labor, where we will be plotting the information about the cervical dilatation, about the descent of the fetal head on different time interval, and we also have to mention the exact hour of the time interval, and also we will be mentioning the uterine contraction in appropriate time interval. If we are using any oxytocin drug for the progress of the labor, that also it has to be included in the Partograph. The fourth component of Partograph is drugs and fluid. If the mother is having any additional drug, or if we are adding or if we are giving any kind of fluid to the mother, that information has to be added in Partograph. Similarly, the vitals of the mother is another very important component which has to be recorded in the Partograph. And at last but not the least, the urine analysis. The information of the urine is equally important, which has to be plotted in the Partograph. Now let's see all the important components in a detailed way. So we can see at the top over here, it has a basic information, a general information about the patient, where the name of the patient will be recorded at the top. Similarly, you can see the gravida of the mother, like the time of pregnancy was, the para, the number of pregnancy was the live child after 28 week of gestation. Okay, similarly we will be having the hospital number, the date of admission, the time of admission, and also the time if the membrane was ruptured before she arrived to the hospital has to be recorded on the rupture membrane gap over here. After that, we have to record the fetal heart sound, where the range is from 100 to 180. So this has to be plotted in this gap. In the same way, we have to plot, or we have to record the information of amniotic fluid, whether it has been ruptured or not. It has to be plotted in these gaps. The molding of the fetal head information has to be plotted in this gap. In the same way, the progress of labor, where we will be recording the cervical dilatation and the descent of the head, has to be done in this side. And we will be plotting the information of hour and time in these boxes over here. After that, the information about the contraction in 10 minutes will be recorded in these boxes. We will be discussing about a detailed information, how we will be plotting, how it has to be recorded in our next slide. After that, we will be recording the oxytocin drug if it was given to the mother to induce the labor over here in these boxes. And if additional drugs and additional fluid has been given, then they have to be recorded in these boxes over here. And after that, we have to record the vitals of the mother, where we will be recording the pulse, respiration, and blood pressure in these boxes over here. And the temperature will be mentioned over here in these boxes, and the information about the urine output, protein, and acetone will be recorded in the last gap over here. Okay, so now let's see in detail how we'll be plotting this information in different charts. So the first one is patient identification or patient information, where we already did discuss. We will be filling out the name of the mother, the gravida. We will be filling the number of para, the number of times he was having a live children after 28 week of gestation. She had a number of child after 28 week of gestation, right? And hospital number, date, and time of admission. Similarly, we will be recording the time of rupture of the membrane, if it was before she was admitted in the hospital. Now, the second component of the partograph, which is the assessment of the fetus, where this will be the portion where we will be recording the information of the fetus with the fetal heart rate, amniotic fluid, and the information with the molding, where we will be recording the fetal heart sound every half hourly, where we can see the range it's in between 100 to 180. So any deviation, if it is below 100 and if it is above 180, then we can consider it as a distress or fetal distress. So we have to take an appropriate action if we find this kind of information in the partograph. Amniotic fluid record. In amniotic fluid record, we can see in these small boxes over here, we have to record the time if it has record before the patient she was admitted in the hospital, in the patient information gap over there, and after if the membrane was not ruptured, then we have to mention here intact, right? I. So I means it's a membrane intact, the membrane has not yet been ruptured. R means membrane rupture, membrane was already ruptured. So if it is R, then we can think like the membrane has already been ruptured. If it is ARM, then we can consider the membrane was artificially ruptured for the progress of the labor. And after ARM or after a rupture of membrane, we have to indicate the color of the amniotic fluid. If it is C, if it is clear after the rupture of the membrane, then we have to mention it C. C means the amniotic fluid color is clear. If it is M, then we have to mention, like we have to understand, it might be, it is a meconium stained fluid. okay? And if it is B, then we can think that the amniotic fluid is blood stained fluid. In this kind of amniotic fluid color, we need to check the fetal heart rate, and if there is any if there is any changes in the fetal heart rate, then we have to take an appropriate action as early as possible. Now let's talk about the molding. Molding, it is the overlapping of the bone. This is important to, it's very important to check the molding, because this indicates the degree of compression of the head that is being subjected during the passage through the birth canal. And increasing molding can be a sign of disproportion, which suggests the possibility of obstructed labor. So the degree of molding, we can use, or we can have the scale from 0 to +3, where we can see 0 means no molding or bone are separated, okay, whereas 1 means you can see bone are just touched each other, +1, +2, it means bone are overlapped and can be separated easily when pressure is applied with the finger. And +3 means bone are overlapped but cannot be separated easily when applying pressure. So this information, whether it is 0, bones are separated, whether the bones are just touched each other, if it is +1, bones are overlapped and it can be separated with the help of finger, all the information, whatever is the description given it over here, has to be mentioned in this molding boxes over here. If it is 0, we have to mention 0. If it is +1, we have to mention it +1. If it is +2, it has to be +2 over here. So whatever is the finding after per vaginal examination, it has to be mentioned on the boxes of molding over here. Now let's talk about the third component of the partograph, which is the assessment of the progress of the labor. So the assessment of the progress of the labor has two important information, that is a cervical dilatation and the descent of the fetal head. Now let's say the cervical dilatation of the assessment of the progress of the labor is marked with X, or it is marked with a cross sign, and the descent of the head is marked with 0 over here, a small 0 in the boxes over there, okay? So we can see over here the assessment at every vaginal examination, which is marked with a X, we have to begin the plotting of the cervical dilatation after 4 centimeter the cervix is dilated. We cannot start before it is 4 centimeter, right? And first plot should be on the alert line. First plotting whether the patient, she has arrived in the hospital at 4 centimeter or she has arrived in the 5 centimeter dilatation. First plotting, it should be on this alert line, okay? So for example, if she has arrived in the hospital at 4 centimeter dilatation, then at first plot, like first plotting information, it has to be over here. But if she has arrived in the hospital with 5 centimeter dilatation, then we have to plot it at 5 over here, right? 5 over here, which we will not do it right now, but let's imagine the patient, she has been arrived in the hospital with 4 centimeter dilatation, so it will be just a cross mark over here. Alert line. Alert line means we need to be alert because the patient is already at the active phase of labor, so we need to get ready for the delivery and we have to get prepared for all the necessary things that are required during the time of delivery, right? So alert is the line which is making us alert, telling that the patient is in active phase of labor. And a line starts at 4 centimeter of cervical dilatation to a point of expected fully dilatation at a rate of 1 centimeter per hour. So we will be having an expectation the dilatation of cervix after 4 centimeter, it will increase 1 centimeter per hour and that will reach to 10 centimeter with this exact time duration. Action line, you can see action line over here. it is just parallel to the alert line, and 4 hour to the right of the alert line. So after 4 hour you can have 1 2 3 4. After 4 hour we will have the action line. So if the cervical dilatation it reaches or it touches the action line or it crosses the action line over here, then we have to have an immediate intervention. Like we have to think about alternative intervention. Like we can think the progress of labor is not satisfactory. And now about the descent of the fetus presenting part. As the head descends, it moves toward the pelvic brim and it is divided into 5 parts. Okay. If the head is completely above the symphysis pubic, it is called 5/5 descent of the fetal head. And we can see, we already mentioned, like the descent of the fetal head is been plotted by a small zero, a small circle, and it will be palpable at the symphysis pubic. Okay, so if the head is 5/5 palpable, then we will be mentioning 0 over here. And if it is 1/5 palpable, then we will be mentioning over here 0. So similarly, the exact time as well as the hour which we were examining the patient related with the cervical dilatation and the descent of the head has to be recorded in the exact that we have examined. It has to be mentioned in these gaps over here, in these boxes. Now the fourth component of the partograph, which is the assessment of the progress of the labor. Let's see. These are the small boxes where we will be recording the progress of the labor on basis of the uterine contraction. So we need to monitor the uterine contraction every half hour, and we need to count the number of contraction in 10 minutes period of time, and also we need to check the intensity or the duration of the contraction in second. Okay, so if the uterine contraction in 10 minutes is for the 4 time, and the intensity of the contraction in second is less than 20, then we have to record, like if it was 4, then we have to mention in 4 boxes over here, and if it was less than 20, then it has to be in this way. Okay, and the different boxes are being categorized for the different intensity that it has in each second. Okay, if the uterine contraction is less than 20, then we will be plotting a small dot in each boxes. Okay, if the uterine contraction is between 20 to 40 seconds, then we will be having a dash line in each boxes. And if the uterine contraction is more than 40 seconds, then we will be making a whole dark color in each boxes. And also we will be counting the number of contraction in 10 seconds, right? So in average, as we had a discussion, like we had a class before, in an average there should be like 2 to 5 uterine contraction, and it should be above 40 to have a progressive or satisfactory progress of labor. It should be above 40 second, more than 40 seconds the contraction should be there to have a progressed or successful uterine contraction. If the uterine contraction is not satisfactory, we can start or we can give oxytocin drugs to induce the labor. If we have started oxytocin drug, then we can write the amount, okay, and the drug that we have started with these oxytocin drugs in these boxes over here. So usually 10 unit of oxytocin is been provided in 1 liter of fluid, where it will be mentioning about the exact drip. It has to be provided in this second boxes over here. Now about the drug, fluid and vitals. If any additional drugs are being given to the mother, it has to be plotted in these boxes over here. And an additional fluid, if it has been given to the mother, then they have to be recorded in these boxes over here. Over here we will be mentioning the vitals of the mother, where you can see the pulse will be recorded with the small dark circle over here, and the blood pressure will be plotted with a arrow facing upward will be having the systolic pressure, and arrow facing downward will give the record of the diastolic pressure. Similarly, you can see the temperature of the mother will be plotted in these boxes over here. And very important information, pulse of the mother has to be recorded every 30 minutes, and the blood pressure has to be recorded every 4 hourly, and the temperature will be recorded every 2 hourly, because the pulsation is an initial sign which will indicate any features or any mother distress condition related with the shock syndrome. Now over here we will be plotting the information of urine examination. We will be recording the urine volume, the output of the urine over here, whether it might be 100 ml, it might be 200 ml, okay. And if there is any presence of protein in the urine, it has to be recorded over here. If there is any presence of acetone, it has to be recorded here. If it is negative, then we will be mentioning negative, okay. But if it is positive, we have to record it plus. So protein, acetone and volume record when urine is passed. So now let's have some example of the Partograph. A multigravid mother was admitted in latent phase of labor at 5 am with this following information. You can see the fetal head was 4/5 palpable, the cervical dilatation was 2 centimeter. You can see the uterine contraction in 10 minutes was just 3, and each one was lasting for 20 seconds. And you can see the maternal condition and the fetal condition was quite normal. So at the time when the mother, she came to the hospital, she was in latent phase, right? Because she was in latent phase, that's the reason like we will not plot the information in the Partograph. At 9 p.m. after 4 hours, we did again PV examination, where the finding was the fetal head was 3/5 palpable, the cervical dilatation was 5 centimeter, and the uterine contraction was 4 in 10 minutes, which was lasting for 35 seconds, and the vitals of the mother was quite normal. As you can see, the cervical dilatation was 5 centimeter, which means it's in an active phase, right? So we will be plotting the information in Partograph at 9 am. So we have started the time over here, the exact time when the cervical dilatation, it was 5 centimeter. As we said, as we already had a discussion, like the first plotting of the cervical dilatation, it should be an alert line, right? So if the first alert, which was 5 centimeter, the PV examination, so we have the first mark over here for the cervical dilatation, and the fetal head was 3/5 palpable. So we have recorded, we have plotted it with a small 0 over here, and it says like this is 3/5 palpable. And there was 4 uterine contraction in 10 minutes, as it was lasting for 35 seconds. That means it's in moderate. So we will be having this with a dash line over here, right? And it was for 4 contraction in 10 minutes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So each boxes, it counts for half an hour. So this is half hour, this is half hour, this is half hour, this is half hour, okay? So the first half hour, it was just moderate. So we have plotted it with a dash line, which is a moderate uterine contraction for 4 contraction in 10 minutes. And you can see the vitals of the mother, the pulse was 84, right? It's 84 over here, which is marked with a small dot circle over here, dot over here. And the blood pressure was 110/70, and temperature was 36.8, and there was negative urine protein and acetone, whereas the volume of the urine is 200. So this is the way it has been plotted, and you can see the fetal heart sound was 120, so it is in between the normal range, right? And the amniotic fluid was quite clear, the membrane was already ruptured, there was no molding, so it seems like it has a very good starting of the labor. After 11, as we know that we will be recording the fetal heart sound every half hourly. We will be recording the uterine contraction every half hourly. So after 2 hours, we did it every half hourly, but we have again the information on the set over here. Like at 11, the fetal head was 2/5 palpable. Okay, the fetal head, you can see it was 2/5 palpable. While having upper abdominal examination, the fetal head, it was furthermore descent, and the descent was about 2/5 palpable. And you can see the uterine contraction after 2 hours, it was 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in 10 minutes, and each one was lasting for 45 seconds. That means this is the strongest uterine contraction, so it is in dark color, right? So 4 uterine contraction, and each one was lasting for 45 seconds, and we have plotted in this way. This indicates the labor is in very good progress. Okay, and after 4 hours, from 9 to 1 p.m. again we did the second PV examination after the labor has started in active phase. So after 4 hours in 1 p.m. you can see the cervical dilatation, like the fetal head was 0/5 palpable. That means the fetal head is already crossed the pelvic brim, right? So the baby is ready to be delivered. And the cervical dilatation progressed at the rate of more than 1 centimeter per hour, and cervix was fully dilated. You can see at 1, the cervix is fully dilated. It's 10 centimeter. You can see cervix is fully dilated over there, and there was 5 uterine contraction. It became more stronger, and each one was lasting for more than 45 seconds. So that is the strongest uterine contraction. In the same time, you can see the fetal heart rate was in normal range. It was about 140, and still the amniotic fluid was very clear. There wasn't any information about the molding, and you can see the maternal condition was quite normal. There wasn't any presence of protein, no presence of acetone, and urine volume was quite normal. It's 150. So after 20 minutes, there was a spontaneous vaginal delivery. It occurred. So that was a quite normal progress of a labor, which leads towards a successful vaginal delivery of a baby, right? So this is an example how you will be plotting the information and how you will have a record in the information and relate the information. Now let's see other example. A woman was admitted in active phase at 10 a.m. with this following information. The fetal heart rate was fetal head was 3/5 descent, like 3/5 palpable. The cervical dilatation was 4 centimeter. The uterine contraction was 3 in 10 minutes, and each was lasting for 20 to 40 seconds. You can see the amniotic fluid is clear. Fetal heart rate was 140. First degree molding was there, and the vitals of the mother was quite normal. So at 10 a.m. you can see the first plotting, as it's 4 centimeter dilatation. So we have started plotting in the Partograph, right? So at 10 centimeter, the cervical dilatation was 4 centimeter. We started plotting from the alert line with a cross sign over here. And you can see the fetal head was 3/5 palpable. That means we will be marking with a small circle over here. That means this 3. So it means this is 3/5 palpable. The fetal heart rate was 140 beat per minute. So we at 10 a.m. we have marked it with a small dark circle over here at 140. It indicates it's a 140 beat per minute. And you can see the amniotic fluid color was clear, so it has mentioned C over here, as we don't have any information like it was ruptured after she came to the hospital. We don't have any information in the Partograph, so it might be she has ruptured it before she came to the hospital, right? And we have first degree molding of the fetal head, fetal skull, so it has been mentioned +1 over here. And about the vitals of the mother, the blood pressure, pulse, temperature, it has been mentioned over here. You can see it's quite normal. Okay, and the uterine contraction, there was 3 uterine contraction, as it is lasting for 20 to 40 seconds. It's a moderate type of uterine contraction, so we will be plotting with a dash circle over here in each boxes. After 4 hours, after 4 hours, that means at 2 p.m. you can see we did again another PV examination where we found the fetal head was still 3/5 palpable, right? The fetal head was 3/5 palpable, which was the same at before 4 hour at 10 a.m. and the cervical dilatation was 6 centimeter. At the beginning, when we did the first PV examination, when this per vaginal examination was 4 centimeter, it was 4, right? After 4 hour, the dilatation has a little bit improved. It is 6 centimeter dilated, and it is to the right of the alert line. It's at the parallel line to the alert and action, but it's not completely towards the action line. You can see there is a slightly improvement in contraction, 3 in 10 minutes, each lasting for 45 seconds. Okay, till 4 hour the contraction was moderate, but when we did PV examination after 4 hour, the contraction it started being stronger, but the number of contraction was only 3. Okay, 3 contraction, and it was stronger. It was lasting for 45 seconds. So we have marked it with a dark color. And you can see the fetal heart rate is 120. It's in between the normal range. And the important thing you can see over here, the second degree molding has been started. Okay, secondary molding. So it has been marked with 2+. But the vitals of the mother was quite normal. So it has been mentioned quite normal vitals. And the other important thing over here, like not in the PV examination when we did at 2 p.m., the urine information was quite normal. But after 1 hour, you can see the urine had the presence of acetone, so it shows +1, and the volume of urine output is also 100 only. So after 3 hours of that PV examination, again what we did is like we saw the fetal head was still 3/5 palpable, and the molding of the fetal head was like +3. It has started getting furthermore molding. It shows like it has been like the obstructed liver, right? The fetal is having a lot of compression in the skull, and you can see the fetal heart rate is 92. That means it has gone beyond the normal range. And the important thing, the amniotic fluid stand with the meconium. You can see that there is a meconium stand M. That means there is the presence of meconium in the amniotic fluid. That's the reason there was the distress in the fetal. There was +3. A lot of reason was there which is leading towards the fetal distress. Okay, that's the reason at 17:30 the surgeon they performed or they went for the cesarean section. So with this all information, plotting the correct information on the correct places on exact time interval, we can understand the distress, like we can understand the deviation from the normal progress of the liver, which we took an appropriate action and leading towards a successful result. So this is the way where we can plot the information and come up with a good or come up with a safely delivery of the baby, where both mother and the baby's condition will be in a normal state. I hope you understood about the Partograph. So till we meet with the next lecture in next video, till then everybody be safe and take care. Thank you.